A great musical score can create an atmosphere for and add texture to a film that simply wouldn't exist otherwise. In fact, a film with less than average writing and directing can be elevated to something special based solely on the score or soundtrack. There are already a number of lists on the interwebs dedicated to the, quote, best film scores, unquote, or the most iconic film scores, and while many of those do contain amazing pieces of music, the emotions or tone they evoke is often very easy to pinpoint. However, in this video, I will list 10 original film or TV scores that evoke more mysterious emotions. Scores that create an ethereal, otherworldly atmosphere, and will haunt your mind for days or weeks after you listen. Or in my case, permanently. So, let's get started. I just said this isn't a list of the most iconic scores, and yet this first entry could easily be counted among those, as well as among the most haunting pieces of music ever created. The Polish jazz pianist Krzysztof Komeda composed scores for 4 of Roman Polanski's films, before he tragically died before his time. Every one of these scores is a unique gem, but the final score, for the 1968 film Rosemary's Baby, is perhaps the most beautiful, while also the creepiest. Some of the tracks, like the opening theme, have an eerie yet enchanting quality that gradually draws you in and chills you to the bone. The 1973, and let me repeat, 1973 horror film, The Wicker Man, has become a cult classic over the years. Even the disastrous 2006 remake wasn't able to tarnish the reputation of the original among classic horror fans. An unforgettable aspect of the film is the unique score and original songs by American composer Paul Giovanni. The film takes place on a remote Scottish island, where the neo-pagan residents will often break into song. And while some of these songs are undeniably upbeat, others have a dark but seductive quality. The score draws from folk and ancient Celtic musical influences to create a haunting soundscape for the film, in which the dark pagan magic can thrive. For his 1983 film, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, director Nagisa Oshima cast 2 great pop stars in the lead roles, David Bowie and the former YMO keyboardist Ryuichi Sakamoto. The latter provided the score for the film. Sakamoto utilized synthesizers to craft ethereal, emotional melodies, with a clear traditional Japanese musical influence. The longing and repressed desires of the 2 lead characters is beautifully echoed in the score's shimmering synth textures. The next entry is the only TV score on this list, but I had to make an exception for it because it's just that good. The Irish folk band, Clannad, composed music for the 1984-86 British series Robin of Sherwood. Clannad drew from traditional Celtic melodies, but reimagined them with modern rhythms and ghostly, echoing synthesizers. While the series was quite limited in budget, the brilliant score added a vastness and mystery to Robin Hood's world that wouldn't have been present otherwise. You may have noticed the score sounds a bit like Enya, and that's not a coincidence. Clannad is made up of Enya's siblings, and Enya herself was a member before going solo. As one of the most influential avant-garde composers of the last century, Philip Glass created new sonic dimensions for film, as well as music in general. Whether in his Errol Morris and Godfrey Reggio documentary scores, or his personal albums, Glass's compositions will slowly permeate your mind with their swirling, cerebral textures. For me, the most evocative gem among his many film scores was created for Paul Schrader's 1985 biopic, Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters. The score provides a vivid, dreamlike ambience for the film, and mirrors the manic creativity of the protagonist's mind. even Lil B had to recognize the genius of this score.
Aw, damn. Goddamn, bass guy, you got bitches. Aw, damn. Free Gucci Man.
Next, we have one of only 3 original film scores created by former Genesis lead singer and pop icon Peter Gabriel. For the 1988 film, The Last Temptation of Christ, Martin Scorsese needed a unique score to accompany his unique interpretation of the Bible, and Gabriel delivered just that. Gabriel could have gone with traditionally orchestrated period film music, or a more poppy direction like his albums at the time. But instead, he created a unique mesh of ancient instruments with modern guitars and haunting synth melodies. The result was an exotic, enthralling, and at times chilling soundscape for the age-old tale to play out in. Michael Nyman is probably best known as the composer for the 1993 film The Piano, but his collaborations with director Peter Greenaway have produced more challenging, and I would argue more beautiful results. His score for the 1989 film The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover ranges in tone from a marching classical theme to the slower, more haunting theme that plays during the scene in which the wife and her lover meet, and then throughout the film. This theme, also called Fish Beach, provides an escape toward beautiful sentimentality and relief from the more vile and jarring moments of the film. The great Italian composer Nino Rota provided the most iconic score of Francis Ford Coppola's career for the Godfather films, but perhaps the most mysterious and mesmerizing music of Coppola's films was created by the Polish composer Wojciech Kilar for Coppola's 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula. The more recognizable main theme from the film is a boisterous, unsettling march. But other themes, for instance the theme that plays when Dracula discovers Mina's photo, are creepy, but also surprisingly beautiful and hypnotic. These themes in the score lull the listener into submission moments before Dracula sinks his teeth in. Skipping way ahead to 2013, we have the enigmatic score to Nicholas Winding Refn's enigmatic film, Only God Forgives. This film's slow-paced narrative relies heavily on atmosphere, making the score an especially crucial component, and it delivers. The former Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer, Cliff Martinez, created an entrancing cacophony of retro synthesizers, church organs, and other strange elements. The result is an intoxicating sonic experience that hints at the divine, much like the story. Finally, we arrive at the only double dip I will indulge in for composers on this list. The Merry Christmas Mr. Lawrence composer, Ryuichi Sakamoto, collaborated with Bryce Dessner and Alva Noto on Alejandro Inarritu's 2015 film, The Revenant. The team of composers could have gone with a charging, epic score, as is standard for period films. But instead, they crafted a melancholy and meditative masterpiece. Much of the score is made up of beautiful, reverberating chords, separated by pauses of cold, distant ambience that echo the landscape in the film. The score haunts us as Hugh Glass haunts the world, and those who have wronged him. Well, I hope at least one of these 10 scores intrigues you and haunts your mind from time to time. I'm sorry I couldn't include longer clips of each track, however I provided links to the full scores below. If you have any suggestions for film or TV scores in this category, let me know what they are in the comments below. And be sure to like and subscribe for more musically inclined videos. Until next time.